This is the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less. Ever wish you could re-listen to your favorite interview or segment? Do you enjoy hearing older shows for the first time in years? Then the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less is just what you need. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less. Today's show is a doubleheader. Greg visits with Monte Brown. Monte is the pitmaster of Trash Can Cookers. Monte was also the very first SCA world champion when it all started back in 2013. They're going to talk steaks. They're going to talk about Trash Can Cookers, the team. Let's jump right into it. Here is Greg and Monte from April the 29th, 2014.
All right, my next guest is a competitive barbecuer and currently the reigning steak cook of all the land. Let's go ahead and race over to the hotline and welcome first-time guest and pitmaster of Trash Can Cookers, Monte Brown, joining me here on the show. Monte, how are you, buddy?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody else doing tonight?
Everybody in Cleveland, Ohio is rocking out, no pun intended. All right, so a bunch of different stuff that we can talk with you, Monte. I've actually been looking forward to talking with you probably for, I don't remember when the steak cook-off was, but it's probably coming up on a year here sooner than later.
It's back in May. We're getting ready to go back again. So. Hey,
there you go. All right. Now, as far as background in cooking, obviously we have the steak thing we can talk about. You're a competitive barbecue cook. Just in general, are you somebody that had a family and friends that were really into backyard cooking, or is this something that maybe you decided to get into a little bit later in life?
No, actually, back in 1991, my uncle used to go do a wild hog cook-off down in South Texas every year. We always went, and I went there every year. It's just a one annual event. And then back around 2002 or 3, invited me to cook a couple of them. They got an extra spot, you should say. In 2011, there was a couple of ICA guys there that actually cooked the event. Got to visit with them, and then they turned me on to the actual sanctioning event. So it was turned on from there.
I don't want to sound like I'm showing my ass here. Well, perhaps no pun intended. But what is a wild hog cook exactly?
It's basically a cook-off that you cook anything wild hog, any portion you want to turn in from a wild hog. Like
one with the snout and the teeth on the side.
Oh yeah, snout, tusk, however you want to do it.
Really?
It's straight wild hog.
Wow, is that safe?
Oh yeah, we're cooking it.
Wow,
it'll be all right. It won't hurt nobody.
Now, is the better part of that the fact that you also are tasked to go out and hunt one, or are they provided for you?
No, you actually bring it to the event.
Wow, that's outrageous.
So if you couldn't go out and hunt one yourself, then you better know some buddies that know how to do it, or catch one, trap one, however you want to do it, and make sure you got one before you go.
Monte, we got to put together the wild hog sanctioning competition scene of all time. We would have a TV show in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me?
It's pretty interesting too, because they're pretty lean, so you don't have as much fat as you do on a domestic hog. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So aside from the wild hog stuff and obviously the steak and the competition barbecue, are you into any other competition food events, or you pretty much stop at that gamut?
No, pretty much right now all I do is your sanctioning events as far as barbecue and then steak cook-offs. That's where I've kind of landed right now.
How do you come up with the name Trash Can Cookers?
When I first started doing sanctioning events, I originally started with a homemade offset pit, went to one event, teamed up with my father-in-law there for a little bit, and we tried it, didn't work. I mean, it was just feeding the fuel. I mean, it wasn't insulated. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just a all-day deal, just trying to fuel that thing. So got to reading a lot about UDSs, and that's how I became Trash Can Cookers when I bought those 3 designed them, fixed them. It's pretty much everything's online. How to create them and make them work, and they're pretty simple. And that's how I started, and that's where the name came from.
Monte Brown is my guest, Pitmaster Trash Can Cookers. Monte, are you mostly an IBCA cooker when it comes to the sanctioned stuff, or will you get out and do some other sanctioning bodies as well?
No, I'll do any sanctioned body that there is. I'll go anywhere.
Do you have
yes, IBCA, Texas Gulf Coast, you name it.
Wow. Do you have a particular favorite if you had to choose between them, or it doesn't matter?
Well, IBCA is more centrally located around me, so that's my choice as of now. I love KCBS. We're slowly getting more of them down here, and those are my favorite. Now, Texas Gulf Coast is working on a few new things, which is going to be interesting, and hoping it works out, and I'll be starting leaning more towards that from here on out.
Have you seen the competition side of barbecue grow since your time in the sport? Like, are you surprised that you have seen so many clubs and organizations and other sanctioning bodies just kind of show up all of a sudden? That did you think that when you got into it, it would be as intense and as growing as it is currently?
No, there was cook-offs we used to go to when I first started that were average, 15 to 25 teams. You'd have your several that were 75 to 100. Now, they're pretty much all consistently over, 30 teams to 50 to, now we have those invitationals and different things that they put on now that, we're getting 150 teams. And so it's grown a lot since I started. And it's exciting because that's my favorite part. You get into a big contest with a bunch of teams. That's where you feel like you can make your stuff shine, and it turns into a whole different game. And then too, how you make your stuff taste cold and what it's going to taste like cold, and I'm excited about it. It's just gotten so huge. I'm ready.
You just mentioned something, and rarely do we kind of talk about it, except maybe a few times, but it is really important if you're going to be a good competition cook, and it sounds almost counterproductive, but you have to be able to have your food taste really freaking good, either lukewarm or cold, because typically that's how the judges are going to taste it, right?
Exactly. It could be, that first table gets it, it's nice, it's pretty hot yet, and then go the next round, it might not be so. This is IBCA too, you're going through a different round judging. So by the time you get to the final table, it's already been through 4 rounds of prelims, let's say. Then you get to your final table, well, it's already cold. That box has been opened up, 30, 40 times. It's already cold, so it's got to taste good there too.
Monte Brown from Trash Can Cookers is my guest. Monte, if I could, we kind of transition over, and I'm going to be a little indulgent here on my own. Let's talk about steak for a second.
Okay.
I love steak like nobody's business. I could eat steak for dinner, breakfast, and lunch every day of the week. Different cuts. I love every single cut. Well, I'm not a big fan of filet myself. I think that's way overhyped, and it's pretty bland flavor-wise. But any other cut, I'm down with. So when we talk about the steak cook-off that you were able to win last year, how many times had you competed in that particular steak cook-off prior to taking the win?
To put in your request for a future show, please contact Jon Solberg via email at jon@thebbqcentralshow.com.
Hey, before we get to the second segment with Greg and Monte, are you following the Barbecue Central show socially? It's very easy to do. It is very much appreciated. It is probably the single most important thing for this show in these days of social media. Over on Twitter and Instagram, it is at BBQ Central Show, and it is /BBQ Central Show over on Facebook. Take a second, give the show a follow. All right, let's jump right back into Greg and Monte Brown from April 29, 2014.
How many times had you competed in that particular steak cook-off prior to taking the win?
in that particular state cook-off, that was the World Championships. That's where you gain your world title. It was my first year to be there.
Wow.
And I had a rough experience there at the beginning. When I got there, they give you so many steaks, to cook for public, depending on the size of your pit. And then you get so many tickets to do whatever you want to, whether you can go try other steaks or not, or you use those tickets for the extra steaks that you have. And I did some practice runs right before turn-in, just trying to tweak it down, and we had a bad experience. I mean, I was actually giving people my steak to, here, just try this, taste it, and it came out so bad. It was pathetic. It turned out real salty for some reason, what have you. And then the one steak that I had keyed my eye on the whole time for my turn-in steak, I put it on there, got it going. It was looking good, made my decision to keep it and turn it in. And sure enough, it was the World Championship steak.
Wow. Just like
that.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. Evidently, if you're taking World Championship steak out. So obviously, the question that everybody's going to ask me to ask is if you would be at all open to kind of laying out your steak cooking process. I mean, we talk to pit masters on this show each and every week. Some of the, I guess, what some would consider to be the top steak cooks out there in the country right now. But of course, nobody can really lay claim to that better than you. You have the title to prove it. How do you think is the best way to go about cooking a steak? And as perhaps as a preface answer to that, is your competition steak cooked differently than you would normally cook it in the backyard, or is it kind of one and the same?
I actually do my steaks this way in the backyard, and it's a method that several people have used. I don't know if they've used it in comp or not. I'm a huge reverse sear fan. So I like to take my steak, put on a nice slow heat at about 220 to 225, and I'll bring that internal temperature up to that steak to about 100 degrees. Then I pull it off, tray it, let it sit, get my grates. Grill grates are the hugest thing for me because I'll get those and I can sit there and temp them. I get them up to 700 degrees, basically put them on there for 45 seconds, quarter turn, 45 seconds, flip, and do the same thing again, and you're sitting there pretty much right at medium for turn-in steaks. Now, we like them medium rare, but that's how, it's that simple for me. And I'm a huge fan of reverse sear. That's my biggest thing.
So in the competition itself, it does have to meet a certain temperature specification in order to be legal to turn in?
For most steak cook-offs, yes. All your sanctioned steak cook-offs are all medium. So 140 to 145, right in there is where you want to, where your target temp is for those steaks. And then, of course, at the house, you cook them how you want them, but
how many steak contests are there that you can take part in?
I believe right now there's about 40 throughout the year.
40?
Yes, and it's growing.
Wow.
Since SCA took it over, it's just starting to grow. They're starting to get the association built up a lot bigger and better, and it's coming along, and they're doing a great job, and it's going to be huge. And it's so easy, for anybody to get into because you don't have to have much to do it. It's a one-day event. You roll in, take out your Weber, cook your steaks, pack it up, and you're done.
Wow.
You go home. There's no overnight.
Like what's a payout if I win a steak cook-off? Just in it doesn't have to be the top or the bottom end, but just in general, like what's a winner taking home?
Generally at the World Championships, you take home $4,000 for that one steak they provide. Then you've got several down here that are $1,000 each, for for first place steaks.
Yep.
So the payouts, it's great. And then for SCA, they provide all the steaks. You just pay your entry, which is generally $150 to $200. And it's just a one-time deal and roll in, roll out. There's no overnights. There's no extra expense. You don't have the big trailers and you can actually throw everything. I went all the way up there in the bed of my pickup with my Weber grill, and that's how I did it.
Yeah.
Of course, I got a hotel room, but
Hey.
I was actually loving it.
You can be a world champion by rolling in your pickup truck and leave the same day, and you don't gonna have all that other stuff like you do with the like it's being so popular in the competition barbecue circuit. Monte, do you have a favorite cut of steak? If we were going to go to the butcher, what are you picking out? How thick is it going to be? What do you like?
I love ribeye steaks, 1.25 to 1.5 inches.
Can you go too thick on a steak? Could you? I mean, I'm 1.5 minimum. And I'll go to 2 inches if I'm feeling robust in the appetite. But can you get too thick? Does it become more like a roast at some point?
I don't. Well, I've never really gone more than 2 inches. I usually 1.5 inches. It's kind of where I stay at. But with the reverse sear method, you can't really go wrong with it. It's just how long you have to leave it in there to bring up that temperature real slow, and then you'll see it when you cut into it. It'll be just perfectly all the way through to the middle, and you'll just be loving it.
Now, when you win, the World Steak Championships, is that something that you are potentially able to immediately parlay into the Monte Brown World Championship steak cooking classes and make a little extra cheddar on the side with the neighborhood people and so forth?
I actually don't have any classes. I haven't done any of that. I haven't looked at that. I haven't looked at some of my rub. I haven't experienced any of that yet. I've just enjoyed cooking and just want to go and compete. I love competing. It's just been something I've always done from back when I was in high school and junior high rodeoing and stuff like that. I just love to compete. So I've been very fortunate enough that I've had a lot of people help me, and I just really have not gone out there and tried to sell anything yet, and I'm just kind of enjoying it right now.
You said you were going to be heading back to defend the steak title this year?
Yes, we go back to the World Championships here in May. I think it's 16th, 17th we head out. We're going to do it's an awesome event this year because they're going to bring back the previous 24 World Championship steak cooks, and then we're going to have our own competition, and then we're also going to compete against everybody else that's going to be there. So it's really going to be fun, and that's going to be exciting to compete against all of the previous World Championships in its own private event.
Where is that held at?
Magnolia, Arkansas.
Wow. Magnolia, Arkansas. So you're going to be heading back down there to do like the Tournament of Champions, and then you're going to also do the that year's steak cook-off event, looking to defend. So this is Monte Brown, again, the reigning steak champion, also pitmaster of the Trash Can Cookers Barbecue Competition cooking team. Monte, really appreciate the time and the tips tonight. Thanks for doing it.
Hey, no problem.
There he is, Monte Brown, Trash Can Cookers.
And that's today's show from April 29th, 2014. If you want to hear the rest of the show, head over to thebbqcentralshow.com. There will be a link in the show notes to take you to the complete episode. There's some other interesting guests in this show. You might want to check that out. There's always interesting guests in all the shows. Hey, if you want to find something out, if you're looking for information, try the search feature over at thebbqcentralshow.com. There is 11 plus years of shows. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of people. There's a lot going on. Check that out. I'm blown away by it sometimes. I just can't believe what I learned. Greg's going to make me a good cook someday. Until next time on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less, I'm your host, Jon Solberg. I look forward to talking to you again soon.